also really lamenting on why exactly the raids are happening the way they are doing so. But really, nonetheless, we must praise the Lord, because He is the absolute, also the planner, and also the giver of everything. Besides everything that happens, be it rains for those who need it, and then for those who do not need it, we are saying we must all accept whatever thing is coming our way, because at least in the last 3 days we have been witnessing rains, at least if not rains, some drizzles, which also really could be exciting the farmers. But this is because some of the farmers who had planted their crops also really had been also really lamenting and complaining on really the changes of climate. But really, we are saying the changes of climate is a real manifestation that we have not taken care of the climate and the environment at large, and that is why we must embrace the issues of planting trees, because if we do not plant trees, then definitely we are going to be seeing such activities happening. But really, that is not the case. That's why we are here. We are here to keep you informed, updated of what is happening in the corridors of current affairs, where we not leave anything, be it environment, be it politics, be it social life. We are here to solely do that for you. And now to begin off the discussions with what is right is happening. And yesterday we did see NUP also really unveiling leadership school, and that is something also really that could go to the excitement of some of the people. But really, where exactly is that also really going to be impacting on the political party ahead of 2026? Because if you look at today, the National Unity Platform Party is actually the biggest opposition political group in Uganda. And how do we make that assessment? Simply, it is done through also the number of legislators sent to parliament, because if at all your opposition group sends the majority, and then definitely that becomes the biggest opposition group in Uganda. And in the recent concluded, that is 2021 general elections, we did see National Unity Platform also leading in there. But are we going to be seeing the same repeated in 2026? That is something definitely I do not know, but I'm yet following up on, and I will be keeping you informed, updated of if at all there's any development like that. But now we did see Bobby Wine launching the National Unity Leadership School, and I know that could have gone to the excitement of so many people, who more so those who affiliate the party. But really, what do you think this political party group needs to teach? That is to the people who are going to enroll in there. I really want to say, to me, it would be the issue of tolerance, because we need to also make sure that we are tolerant, first of all, as leaders, and also really as people who are affiliated these political groups, because many of the times we are going to be seeing a lot of issues emerging, and that is how we need to make sure that the issue of tolerance is actually also imparted on these learners who are going to be moving out from this school as leaders in there. Because if at all we are going to be having leaders who are intolerant, then definitely we are going to be seeing issues of threats here and there. We are going to be seeing issues of also really battering also here and there. And at the end of the day, we may also really see the relationship between the leaders and those they lead also really becoming very, very much good in there. And that is why we are saying the relationship between the leaders, first of all, and the people they lead need to be also really taken care of in there. Because if I talk about the leaders, I do not mean the political leaders, I mean everybody who is a leader. And I believe this school is going to be also really attracting learners of different calibers, not only the political leaders, because if we have the leaders, we have so many leaders whom I can be able to talk about, because look at the cultural leaders, these are all leaders, the religious leaders, these are all leaders. And really, I want to say this school also really should also be able to impact the issues of what we call the tolerance, because if tolerance is not also really imparted on the learners, maybe on the leaders, and then definitely we may also really see the rift between the members. Now, this is something also which paints a bad image, as recently witnessed in there, and which update which people are still following up on, where signatures are being also really solicited here and there. And I want to say these are things also that then at the end of the day mean very, very much a lot for the opposition groups to also have trust in there. And this or the opposition National Unity Platform Party yesterday unveiled the first ever opposition leadership institute in Uganda, which will be used to teach various political and socio-economic disciplines to party members and all willing Ugandans. And that's something also we are saying we must also be embraced. And the National Unity Platform School of Leadership was launched on Monday, which was yesterday, by the party president Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, alias Bobby Wine, which is situated at the former NUP headquarters in Kamocha, a Kampala suburb in there. And remember, National Platform headquarters were moved from, that is Kamocha to Makerere Kavule. That's actually where now the new party structures is. And this is also really where we did see now this school, leadership school, will be situated along. And this is something also really I want to say will be quite good, because we want to have leaders who know exactly what they're doing. Because if at all we have leaders who do not really know what they're doing, then definitely that will be quite absurd. And that is why at the end of the day we may also see the rift has witnessed over the years. And I don't want to say, I don't want to see the leaders who are going to be enrolling for these courses, because this is for the national platform leaders and also really those who are also interested. That these are the members of the public, where I want to say the learners also really need to be taught exactly how they need to come out and lead the people, because sometimes people get the papers, they get the national education, but they do not apply it, which becomes quite unfortunate. And that is why we are saying, for those who are going to also really enroll in this school, we do not also really expect you now to come out as you went, because if at all you went with your, if you at all you went there when you were arrogant, we expecting you to come back as somebody who is not tolerant, somebody who is not arrogant, somebody who is willing to work with the people. That will be quite good, and that will mean also the school has its own repercussions and its own impact, that is on the citizens and those who are willing to also really enroll for the studies in there. And addressing the gathering at the grand opening of the institute, Mr. Chagulanyi Sentamu noted that it aims to debunk the government's deliberate intentions, that is to keep Ugandans in darkness by abolishing political education in schools. And that is something also really where this school also really is going to be also maybe teaching the Ugandans about political knowledge, because if you really see what happened sometimes back, we had political education which was already merged into some other things, but really now National Platform Party is saying this is actually aiming to also really enlighten the Ugandans through political education. And I really want to say that is something also that we will be able to also really follow up on, because if at all that is also not done soon, then at the end of the day we may also really see so many issues also really coming out of that. And he added that Kamocha Best is much anticipated by the new breeding ground of future generation leaders who can withstand, that is, the temptations of the ruling regime in there. And this is something I also really want to say that we are following up on. And I really want to say at the end of the day, we expect this to also really do a lot. And we did see Party Secretary Davis Lubongoya say the disciplines to be taught include that Snoop ideology, a political and also the constitutional history of Uganda, strategic perspectives of building a new Uganda, introduction of new economics also really in there, and others, introduction to human rights, communication skills, art of political communication, as well as the principles and practices of, that is what we call institutional leadership in there. And this is something also really we are going to be following up on, and we shall be able to come and keep you at all now the school starts operating, because launching it is another thing, and also really getting the licenses to operate is also really going to be another thing. But really we are yet following up on, is government of Uganda going to be giving the licenses for this school to operate, is something I don't know, because for you to run the school, then definitely you need a practicing license. That is also to ensure that the school runs, that is according to our laws of Uganda. But really we are yet following up on, because if at all maybe this school is also really genuine, at the end of the day, then why not? Why can government also give them the mandate to also really run the school in there? But that is something also we are yet following up on, if at all they also do not also really obtain what exactly is something also maybe we are talking about. Because if you talk about the noob school, many people's also mind will be able to run, that is to politics very much, because many people cannot associate, maybe they associate the school from politics. And we are saying that is actually a school that is going to be imparting knowledge, first of all, in the political ideology of the new principles, and also really other issues. Because if you talk, we did see the party president Robert Chagulanyi saying this is actually going to enlighten the Ugandans out of the darkness that also the regime has kept them in. And that is something also I do not want to talk about much on, and I really want to leave that aside. And still relatedly with the education sector, we also really seeing officials rejecting Entebbe land proposed for a mini university in there. Remember, strides have been in place to also really establish that is what we call a mini university. But now officials pursuing the construction of the university in memory of former president of Uganda, His Excellency, that is Idi Amin Dada, have rejected a piece of land that has been selected for the project. And the officials say the 150-acre piece of land in Garuga on Entebbe Road is owned by a Kenyan company linked to the late Chris Kirubi, a Kenyan businessman also really, and it's a setup for modern residential apartments, and that is why they are rejecting the school also already in there. And we did see Miss Madina Amin, one of the wives that is to President Idi Amin Dada, who had actually many wives, also say the development, or confirm the development, saying as she is in contact with officials from both Kenya and Brunei on the also really construction of the university, saying given Amin's redact regime, such a monument is in remembrance also will be taken also in there. And that's according to information we did see also really from Ministry of Education, saying that also really they raised concern over the construction of the university, saying given also really the dark regime, such a monument in remembrance of Idi Amin wouldn't be taken well. And Brunei wants to invest, that is Shelley shillings, 500 million US dollars, which is about 1.9 trillion for the construction of the Islamic University, which also already has its background that is traced up way back in 1970s, and plans to construct also the university that in the 1970s, according to promoters of the university, while on a trip that is to Kuwait in the 1970s. And then President Idi Amin held a meeting with the King of Brunei, that is Hassan al-Bolkiah Ibn Omar, also Ali, also to have the university also established in there, and where they agreed to fund the university in there. And this is also something that which has been followed up to now, and now developments also already in place. And this is also to advance research and Islamic teachings in Uganda, and this would also be quite well because we have at least 2 Islamic universities, that is Islamic University and Islamic University in Uganda, and Idi Amin University would actually be an addition. And that is one thing also I want to say, if at all we would also want to first of all, make the citizens get educated and enlightened. Education would actually be the key area where many of them could actually also embrace education. And today we have seen access to university education with the coming up of private universities, where in the past regimes we had only one university, which was Makerere University, and also where Chambogo and others also emerged. And today we are having quite many where it is just an option of choice, where you join where you wish to join. And that is why at the end of the day we are seeing thousands of graduates also really emerging out of these universities, which is actually something that also really we must appreciate, because many people have now gotten education. And that is why at the end of the day we are saying, maybe in my own opinion, this university will be quite well to also really establish it, and that will be quite well. But really where the land is also having issues, and then likely we may not be able to solely realize the dream of establishing this university, because if at all the land on Garuga Road, that's along Entebbe Road, is actually having issues, and where they're also really saying that this land belongs to a Kenyan businessman, and then government is also actually proposing it, then that is quite unfortunate, because after a few days we may see, after establishing the university, then the owners of the real land also really emerging and going to court, where we may see also really people also really being thrown out of the university. That would be quite well after investing that is the huge amounts of money in there, because the land is actually said to be but also really in plans of developing an apartment. But really why would they also give it that is for the establishment of university? That is something I do not know, and I wouldn't also really wish to talk very much about it. But really that is something also that happened, and in 1974 then President, that is Idi Amin, also really successfully persuaded the the Organization of Islamic also really Conference, abbreviated as OIC, to also admit Uganda as a member. And at that time the reigning monarch of Brunei was in power and played a significant role in facilitating the deal in there. And Amin was reportedly also united Uganda's previously divided Muslim community under the Uganda Muslim Spring Council, which they also resolving issues, and generously supported various religious projects in the country. And that is also something maybe what somebody may be interested in knowing about the then president, that is Idi Amin Dada. He also established a special department of religious affairs, which operated also really nearly the ministerial level in there, because today we are having an equivalent, which is the department that is of ethics, that is for ethics and integrity, which is actually responsible maybe to that of religious maybe institutions. Because if you really see what happened in the then regime, that is of Idi Amin, we had only 3 religions, the religions that were recognized, that is Islamic, also really Islam was recognized. We had Protestants and Catholics alone, and besides that there was no any other religion that was recognized. And we also had that is also the Department of Religious Affairs, also to oversee the affairs of these religions in there, but which played a crucial role. And this is also where some people are actually saying, despite also really what we are having today, so many issues continue to happen and unfold in there. And that is why we are saying, for those who are at home maybe planning to move off, we are seeing some bit of drizzles in Arua City, and right now it is raining. And we are saying, for those who are willing to move to the towns, you must make sure that you carry at least an umbrella or a pullover, so that also you are not washed by the rains in there. And that would be maybe during your day, because maybe if you do not carry the umbrellas, if you do not carry the pullovers, then definitely the rains may spoil your day by washing you, which wouldn't be quite well. And that is why we are saying, for those who are also really planning to move, definitely you must make sure that you carry the sweaters alongside with you, so that also you get the comfort of what we call the warmth in there. And that is where I want to advise you on as we get to move on with the show. And now let's leave the issues of officials rejecting, that is the proposed land for mini university establishment in a side. Let's look at what is happening in Parliament, where Sechkubo failed to also set to censor motion signatures. It's already another story that we are seeing on the paper this morning, where legislators have refused to condemn corruption when presented also already with an open book, despite always shouting their voices higher. And that is also already over and the new vice. And now Theodore Sechkubo and co are hoping for the unlikely. And Remiaga County Member Parliament Sechkubo and his censor motion movers on Monday, which was yesterday told the media that at the Parliament that they had only gathered, that is 145 signatures out of the 175 required. In the, after 3 weeks, that was after 3 weeks of beating the drums to censor the 4 backbench commissioners accused of, that is, awarding themselves shillings 1.7 billion as service awards in there. And Sechkubo, who on Friday announced he was to close the exercise on Monday, which was yesterday, also has now indicated intention to keep the desk running, since the notice has also to keep the desk also already hasn't also been yet filed before the clerk to Parliament's office, which doesn't also already bound his motion to the 14 days rule in there. And what does it mean if at all this would not obtain the required 175 signatures, because at least they have passed average, and we are just remaining with some few signatures for them to obtain. And if at all they did not obtain it, what exactly is going to be happening is something also already, I will also need your opinion on, and I will need your ideas. Feel free to keep them coming through on the comment section. For those of you watching us via Facebook, keep them coming there, as well as those also already watching us via YouTube. We shall be able to check through, and that is something also already I want to say we shall be able to keep you updated on as we get to move on with the show. And the team has publicized the names of all 145 MPs who have stood up on to be counted, leaving those who have not exposed to the electorate, and that is something where this will also mean to the voters. If I told you that there is somebody who has been promising that I will be championing fighting corruption, and according to this censor movers, maybe motion movers, who are saying those who do not sign, definitely they need to also make sure the voters are aware of them, and they will also explain to the voters why they are not able to fight corruption. And the motion movers also express concerns that legislators also from the elderly workers and the UPDF have ignored the process of appending their signatures of long-awaited motion in there, and that is something also I feel I need to talk about. And such people wondered why most MPs are still shying away from signing the motion, which is also amidst the storm that has engulfed Parliament, following social media reports that some MPs and staff of Parliament had been summoned also to police for questioning over suspicions also of running a corruption racket at Parliament. And that is something also we did see yesterday, where the Tribunal headquarters for CID also witnessed heavy deployment of police, where for you to access the premises, where we did see also the heavy checkups in there. And what does that mean? And rumors also indicated that also this was also to make investigations on also the alleged also issues that I did talk about earlier on here. And this is also where we did see journalists and also the members of the public being barred from accessing the premises in there, because it was only dignitaries who were allowed to also move in there. But what does that mean? Definitely that is something also I must say means quite a lot, because many people did not actually really understand what exactly could be happening. Because if at all we are supposed to be carrying the interrogations, it should not be in darkness, it should be in broad daylight, so that's all the members of the public understand what exactly is happening. And we did see a sneak peek into the censor motion books shows that Mubende is the best performing district in the fight against also the corruption, that after all its 5 MPs appended their signatures to the motion in there. And in what is being peddled as a war, open war against corruption, Dr. David Kabanda, Kasambia County, Bashir Lubega, Mubende Municipality, and William Museveni of Bwekula South, and Pascal Mbabazi of Bwekula County, and Grace Nakazi, who is the Mubende woman MP, also all penned their signatures to the paper to also have this censor motion moved in there. But really, are we going to be seeing them attaining the aim of the remaining signatures? Is definitely something I do not know as we get to move on with the show this morning. But this morning also such was on the same district enlisted, that is support from Goreth Namuga, who is the Mawagola South Member Parliament in there, with other the MPs declining to backbench also in the fight against also corruption in Parliament in there. We did see Sechkubo has challenged the 4 commissioners to append their signatures to the motion so as to prove their innocence, and that's something also we are seeing on the past morning. But really, how do I sign something that really I know is going to be acting very much against me? That is something also we need to understand, because Sechkubo and colleagues have asked this also the backbench commissioners to also also really make sure they pen their signatures to prove their innocence in there. Maybe is it an oath? Is it maybe a sign of also really a backfire? Definitely, I do not know, but really I can confirm to you at the moment, none of them has actually also really penned their signatures in there. But really, we are going to be following up on until also really we shall be able to let you know how this matter ends in there. Because if at all we leave this matter out, and then definitely that wouldn't mean a lot, because corruption remains the biggest vice that is actually said to be eating the economy of this country, and many people actually say it is actually just the cancer that is actually eating the economy of this country. But what does that mean? Definitely I do not know, but really I shall be able to keep you informed when the right time comes in terms of really what is happening and what exactly could be transpiring in your absence or in your no, because regardless of everything, every difference, we are to keep you informed of what exactly you need to know, and where exactly you will be able to know this information is actually here on West Nile TV. And I really want to say that is the way to go. Each and every mornings you must make sure that you are locked to the KOKOLIRIKO live show that comes your ways every Mondays to Fridays, right from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock, where we keep you informed of what exactly could be happening that is across borders in there. And as we get to move on with the first quarter, the first hour, to summarize the first quarter, as we are just left with about 3 minutes to 8 o'clock. Earlier on I did talk to you about heavy deployment of security at CID headquarters, where we did see Nanga actually denying the summoning of the VIPs, and that is something also we did see happening in there as on Monday, where there was heavy deployment of security, where it was in the morning. This was already at the Criminal Investigation Department headquarters in Chibuli, where the heavy deployment followed the votes of summons to a section of legislators and parliament staff to make statements over the alleged corruptions in the journalists were not allowed to access the CID headquarters. But according to also resources, a number of government officials are summoned by state officials summoned for state recording statements arrived early as 8 a.m. in tinted vehicles to also avoid detection in there. And last week we did see President Museveni said he got evidence that also implicating officials from Ministry of Finance and Parliament staff in taking kickbacks also in there. Remember, President's statement also during the State of Nation address meant a lot, where he talked about corruption at the highest level, where some ministries actually were behind also the corruption in there, where they were also responsible for making some of the approvals, and which he also talked about being up to the extent of State House, where also the investors also had to pay some amounts, some unknown individuals also to access the premises and also have access to the president, which wasn't also really quite well in there, because for you to also now access the president through bribes, what does that mean and what does it tell of maybe the security in there? And that is something also really, at the end of the day, I really feel I would also not want to leave out, because corruption, to fight corruption must also start at the highest level, not from the lower levels, and really to see it at the top level. What does that mean? Definitely that is something I do not know, but we did see police denying the summons. However, we did see on Monday police spokesperson, that's Fred Nanga, denying any official had been also summoned to appear before CID for grilling in there, and that is something also I want to also talk about. And asked about the police deployment at CID headquarters, and Nanga described it as a routine that every day at least they are having the heavy deployments. And I really want to say, sometimes I can't be able to confess to you that as I was going to school, because I used to use that very much, and I would really see heavy deployments sometimes, and that would mean that also really there was something going on. And on days where it was not busy, you would also really see that there is no deployment. But really of yesterday, what exactly was happening in there, which actually raised also the questions in the minds of the public, also is something we need to understand. If at all also there were also denials here and there, but really what exactly was happening, I do not know. And that does bring us to the end of the first half of the first hour. This is still the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV. We shall be able to bounce back shortly. Stay tuned. My name is Faresh Majid.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
for Miss Uganda 2024 is on. Get ready to be wowed by the girls' intelligence, charisma, and big dreams. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Find out starting 10th May every Friday to Sunday at 8 p.m. on Makulachika, exclusively on Star Times. The show is sponsored by LMZ, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grace Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are back with the KOKOLIRIKO live show, and our final destination remains, that is 9 o'clock. And after 9 o'clock, that's when the news bulletin Liberty with Bukulia Lawrence, the big man, will be coming through. And that is also for those who understand the language to also be part of in that. Remember, at midday, we shall be having the Lembange as well. And not forgetting the English speakers who will be also having their dose of the Nilecast with Okumuringa Christine, which will be coming through at 7 p.m. And that is also where tomorrow, the following day, we shall be able to come back and also keep you updated as we are doing now with the morning updates. This is also to inform you of what is happening in and around the borders in there. And now, sort of our first discussions in the second half of the first hour. We did see also Museveni ordering landlords to return excess of usuru to the Bibanja holders. This is another story we are seeing on the past morning as we begin our discussions in the second half of the first hour. And remember, we have 2 hours, and when I talk about the first hours, it is actually this one that we are already into, that begins from 7 o'clock, that is to 8 o'clock, and from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock is also another hour that we are talking about. And President Museveni has directed landlords charging excessive also nominal rent fees to return also the excess to Bibanja holders immediately to face arrest. Is another story that we are seeing on this morning. And the president made these remarks during the 35th Heroes Day celebration at the Impenya Church of Uganda Primary School playgrounds in Gomba district. Also and the theme of the event was "Hail Our Heroes, a secure Uganda is now a reality." But really, I should be asking yourself also, maybe who is your hero? Whom do you take as a hero, and why that particular individual, and why is that particular individual your hero? Also is another story that maybe I should be able to also share your opinions with us. And so also ordered landlords to cease illegal evictions, because we have seen also the people who have been thrown out of Bibanja, and yet some of these are Bibanja holders, and that is something also we are seeing, and where we did see the president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni also very, very much talking about on, and the president highlighted that the issue between landlords and Bibanja holders was resolved in the Constituent Assembly in the also the Land Act of 1998 in there, and that is something also where we now expect people to also address the issues of land using the law in there. And 1995, a constitution also clarified that land rights, stating that land in Uganda belong to its people, and also reinstated private land ownership, and that's something also we are seeing on the past morning. And when we talk about land belonging to also its people, and that means also the Ugandans and the right owners of the land, and that is one thing also we are saying, you as maybe as a citizen, you do not have the right of throwing somebody out of that land. Definitely it has to be the government, and the right channels also have to be followed, if at all maybe evictions are supposed to be taking place in there. However, Museveni expressed dismay that the landlords also evict the nominal fees and also continue to evict, that is Bibanja holders also in there. And Gomba District LC5 chairperson Mr. Geoffrey Chiviri noted that the approved nominal fee is 10,000 per year, but landlords also refuse such payments, leading to increased also land disputes in there. And Museveni also suggested new policies to safeguard these agreements. We may also need to resolve in NRM parliamentary caucus to have the rent also rent fees kept at the sub-county level if the landlords refuse them to also in there. And he asked the president also he also asked the resident district commissioner of Gomba, that is Harriet Nakamia, to document those under threat of eviction and resolve their matter also with the landlords in there. And during the event, the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakoba, distributed land titles to 446 people in Kanoni, Gomba, and also through the government's also land fund in there. Remember, this is also something where we have also often asked people to sort of make sure their lands are titled, because if at all the lands are not titled, and then definitely we may also really see people also really encroaching on their lands of others. And that is why today you are seeing a number of issues being reported to the courts of law that is in relation to land. And really we are appealing to the members of public to also really avoid such through also first of all having their land surveyed and titled, which would also be quite well, because they, at least we are having so many surveyors who are in the city, but really how do they take advantage of also these affairs is another question we need to ask. And we did see President Museveni also, who is the commander-in-chief of Uganda Post Defense Forces, attributing also their success during the protracted also liberation war, which started that in way back in 1981 to 1986, to the contract also the correct principles of the National Resistance Army, which is now the NRM movement, where also we are talking about that very much on, and emphasized also the importance of patriotism, Pan-Africanism and socio-economic transformation, which also are not, among others, include democracy, where he rallied also the handling of traditional religious groups during also the liberation struggle, showing them a modern way forward in there. And remember, this is also something we cannot be able to leave out as we get to move on with the show, because we did see that happening. At least today, if we are to talk about these issues, then definitely there's nothing that we are going to be leaving out. And this is why we are saying land is actually something where we have seen it remaining stagnant, but the population has kept on increasing, and that is why we are seeing encroachment also becoming encroachment, where people have reached the extent of also encroaching on wetlands, where we have seen possibly destroying the forest cover. This is for settlement because the population has increased, but land has remained as it is. And that is one thing also we are saying for those who are having land, to avoid also the other people coming to encroach on your land. First of all, you must make sure that this land is titled, and also it's known. Your boundaries should be known, and that is as a reason as to why, if at all somebody is maybe going to be encroaching on your land, definitely you may be able to slowly rush to court in there. And that is something also where we need to leave that discussion aside, and we get to move on, where we did see CID VIP cells prepped as MPs also face arrest, and that is something also we did talk about earlier on, and we wouldn't also want to repeat ourselves on that. But really, how do we also make sure that these people are really taken for queries or maybe interrogations, not in broad daylight, because people need to understand, and the voters need to see who exactly has been summoned. And really that would be the way to go, way forward for me. I would also wish to see people must also understand who exactly has been taken in there, and journalists must be there as these investigations are to be done, because nothing is going to be coming out, because in our Lubara dialect here we have a saying, there's no smoke, there's no fire without smoke. And that is also really where to me, as these investigations are done, definitely there's something that could have led to those already people also being first of all also being maybe assessed in there, because we need to also suspicions usually come because there's something that could be leading in there. And that is one thing also where I need to leave that discussion aside to that. Now let's leave that. Let's come back home, where a man has been determined after unzipping and rubbing also the genitals on a woman. Is also another story that we are seeing on the paper this morning, where police in Pakwach district in West Nile sub-region have now a man in detention who was arrested for also molesting a woman with his genitals on a bus in there. But really, what does that mean? Definitely the society is getting out of hand. How do you really move in a bus, and definitely you pull out the things and really start rubbing on another? This is definitely unacceptable and also really uncalled for. But really that tells a lot that the society we are living in today is very, very much degenerating, and that calls for also the religious leaders and the political leaders, also really not forgetting the cultural leaders, to do very, very much sensitization. Such instances maybe that didn't happen in the past, also that we are seeing emerging today. A shooting also already happened in that. We did see Ivan Munguneyo, a 31-year-old social worker and resident of Wampeo Kasao zone in Kasanga Town Council in Wakiso district, turned his entire world on zip inside the public also already bus on June 8th. In there, according to police, we did see the incident happened aboard a bus registration number UBF 691T belonging to Nile Star Coaches India, which was also traveling from Kampala to Arua city in there. And it said that on June 8th at about 8 p.m. Tracy, 21-year-old, was aboard the said bus, where also already she was assaulted by the male passenger in a Tracy, whose full identity was not established by press time, is said to be a university student. Also, she was seated and booked in that seat 21, and also already at first where she sat next to the identified lady who was already alighted the Ruelwero also bus in there. And this is something also already we are saying this incident happened along also the Kampala Gulu Highway in there. And this is something also already where we need to understand what exactly is happening in the society. Why are we witnessing that is social degeneration today as we are witnessing today? Because the morals have decayed. Definitely, how can we make sure that we retain and also restore the moral decay and African culture that we used to also uphold? Because for people to also had maybe get even the interest of maybe attraction to another, it wouldn't be in public or maybe space, but really as we are now witnessing in a bus, this is really uncalled for. It is quite unfortunate, and we must condemn this in the strongest terms in there. And the vacant seat was then assigned to Munguneyo, who was also also literate overshot the control knobs to send him into an uncontrollable perversion in the past. He went to Tracy's thighs when he also brushed out his offensive touches away. He stated that's on got nausea in there, and that's something also we are following up on. We did see also the police commenting on the same issue, and the victim left her seat and went in front to sit on the conductor's seat. She narrated to the bus conductor and told solely about what her male seatmate had done to her in there. Munguneyo reportedly denied the and claimed that he forgot to unzip his trouser. That is why his penis was out in there. But really, what exactly happened? Because on arrival to Pakwach, the bus operators tipped police, who promptly took the public also nuisance into custody in there. Josephine Angujia, the West Nile Regional Police spokesperson, said a case of indecent assault was opened, that's at Pakwach police station, and statements were recorded from the complainant and other relevant witnesses in there, and that is something also we are following up on. Police, however, applauded bus operators for their vigilance such a matter also on such a matter, and not tolerating also such indecent behavior by reporting it for investigations and proper management in there. And that is something also where we need to leave that discussion aside, but really, it's really not quite well, because for us to witness that tells a lot, and that is why people need to control their tempers and need to control their feelings. And really, I want to say for you to also develop maybe that feeling in a bus. It is really uncalled for, and that is why we are saying people must also really avoid that. And leaving that aside, now let's look at what is happening, where Amongi also really urges world leaders to accelerate efforts to wipe up hunger. Is also another story we are seeing on the past morning, where Uganda's Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, that's Miss Betty Amongi Ongom, has urged the world leaders to accelerate efforts to end hunger and also poverty worldwide in India. And she made these remarks while speaking at the 12th session of the International Labour Conference in Geneva, in Switzerland, also on Monday, where Amongi also emphasized the need for global solidarity and responsibility sharing with developing countries through also the fair trade terms, financial architecture reform, and not forgetting investment that promotes social and economic transformations in there. And that is where also we need to say today hunger is actually something that is threatening the world, and really that is also something that could also be coming with excitement, that given the fact that we are witnessing rains, because some farmers had been complaining that their crops that they had planted are also already facing that is drying in there. Now with the kind of rains that we are receiving, because at least in the last 3 days, I can't be able to confirm to you in Arua city at least there we are drizzles, if not rains, weirdness that is in the city in there. And I do not know how it is in other parts of the world, but definitely I believe the same could be happening in there. The conference is being held against the backdrop of global political polarization, geopolitical instability, and extreme environmental impacts. And she highlighted Uganda's commitment to advancing the social contract, ensuring access to basic services, employment, as well as social protection for the citizens in there. And that is something also we did see Betty Among also talking about on. And the conference also comes at a time when also the concerns are over rising levels of global hunger, putting also really the goal of ending malnutrition in its all forms by 2030 in serious jeopardy, because if you really see the Millennium Development Goals, which among others also talked about ending hunger by the year 2030. Today we are in 2024, but really how many days are we also really getting closer to that is 2030, because that is something also really we are following up on, and I really don't know how the world can be able to attain its own the aims before this year clocks in there, but really that is where also really maybe the plans must be observed. And Shamong also went on to emphasize the partnership or the importance of partnerships and also the social partners and protection of fundamental human rights, as well as including equal opportunities and economic as well as social rights for all the citizens in there. And that is something also really where we also need to leave the discussion aside, and this is also really where I feel the world must be educated. The world must be sensitized about the issues of hunger and who exactly is supposed to be doing that. And one of the crucial stakeholders to also really do that is the teachers, and this is also in schools where the learners must be taught practically, and this is also in relation to hunger, first of all, in agriculture, where the learners must be also really told on what exactly to do, and this is in terms of also practicing agriculture. And this is where I want to also really appreciate and welcome the curriculum that we are seeing today. At least today we are seeing a change where learners can now be able to also really plant crops, and that is a plus for the new also the curriculum that had been developed, because many people had negative thoughts about the curriculum, but today slowly by slowly many of them are now trying to embrace it, because the learners at least are receiving hand-on skills. For those who are not also in agriculture, those who are in catering at least are learning a lot, and that's also to end hunger in there. And we did see on a sad note Kiswahili teachers protesting exclusion from ongoing recruitment exercise, and I really want to say the Kiswahili teachers will also really, first of all, play a great role in terms of also ending hunger in there. But really how possible is that? It is also through also really sensitizing maybe the whole East African community. And I really want to say, if at all we have Kiswahili as our official language of East Africa, that would be quite well, because we would also at the end of the day speak the same language, and that would also really end the hunger that we are talking about today. And Kiswahili teachers in Uganda, under their umbrella body Chama cha Kiswahili cha Taifa Uganda, which is abbreviated as Chakitau, have protested exclusion of their members solely in the ongoing recruitment exercise in there. In a May 28th letter circulated also by Dr. Jen Egau Okou on behalf of the Permanent Secretary, that's Ministry of Education, Ms. Kate Lamaro, 598 administrative and teaching staff will be recruited in the only 46 government-aided secondary schools. That is this year, and that is something also that didn't go on well with some of the Kiswahili teachers also in the advertised slots in subjects of also including English, mathematics, biology, physics, history, geography, chemistry, Islam, religious education or CRE, fine art, and not forgetting agriculture and technical drawing plus computer studies in there. And the same circular also ring-fenced 13 positions for the sitting staff for each of the government-aided schools, of which 6 also teachers must be degree holders, 5 must be diploma, and 2 administrators also one a teacher and 2 deputy head teachers, and 1 senior accountant in there. Dr. Boaz Mutunji, the deputy president of Chakitau, said the government should swiftly change its current position in staff recruitment and also include Kiswahili teachers among those that shall be recruited in there. And this is something also we did see this also making the adjustments on, and Dr. Mutunji said Chakitau has over 5,000 qualified teachers, but more than 2,500 are still unemployed and either still at home or either doing other jobs in there, yet their qualifications in there. And that is why they also saying they need to also be recruited, because Kiswahili is actually something that also must be incorporated in our curriculum. And I really want to say, if at all we embrace Kiswahili as the language which is official of East African community, that would be quite well, because we would also go to Kenya and I would just greet Kenyans just like saying Habari. And I really want to, if at all I'm maybe to ask food, it would be easier for me, and I would just say it in that way. And that is one thing also I want to say would also be quite well, because today many people are suffering. If at all somebody moves from Uganda to Kenya due to communication barrier, the person wouldn't also survive in there. And this is where we are saying also sometimes when Kiswahili speakers from Tanzania and Kenya come to Uganda, we are finding it very much difficult to them. And that is why we are saying East African community needs to embrace Swahili, because at least we are now saying many people are speaking Swahili. Because recently I was also interacting with some DRC people, and I realized that many of them could speak Swahili, and that tells me a reason as to why we need to make sure that we embrace Swahili. And many people are also actually taking the language to be the language of business or the language of soldiers, but we are saying that is not the case. It should become the official language of this African community. That would also ease maybe is communication. I mean, this also really may be challenges of English in there, because English has also really paved, given a hard tackle and a hard challenge also to many people who cannot be able to learn the language in there. And according to data from Chambergo University, Mr. Innocent Agume, a Kiswahili lecturer at Kabale University, said over 8,000 primary schools have teachers also who have studied Kiswahili as core subjects between that 2013 and 2021 in there, but really none of them are also really employed in there. But really, how do you make sure that all these teachers who have qualified I incorporated? That is something also I did not know, but we did see Mr. Dennis Mugimba, the spokesperson that's of Ministry of Education, say the ministry is unable to recruit teachers at the moment due to the insufficient budgets in there, and that is something also really maybe wouldn't also really go well with some of the teachers who may also really wish to be recruited in there. But that is something also really I want to say we are following up on. At the end of the day, we shall be able to keep you informed and updated if at all government changes the mind on the recruitment exercise, because many of the Kiswahili teachers are now not happy about the mode of the recruitment, and that is something also really where we need to leave that discussion aside as we get to the final minutes of the first hour. But really, we are still remaining about 8 minutes. But really, to summarize the first hour, and I really want to say so many issues that we had, and this is also really where we prepared a number of issues for you, and this is to keep you informed. And we did see SACCOs questioned against relying on politicians to develop, because many of times we have seen some politicians actually promising what they did not have, and we did see the president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, actually warning those politicians during also the fundraisings who actually promise heavy amounts. And this is something also where sometimes they do not also have the mandate of going back to fulfill these dreams. And we did see Colonel Joseph Onata, the CEO of Wazalendo Sacco, warning cooperatives against relying on politicians and external funding to develop, urging them to take ownership and responsibility for their savings and investments in there. And we did see that also coming out from that is Colonel Joseph Onata, who is the CEO, that is of Wazalendo Sacco in there. And Colonel Onata emphasized the importance, that's of self-reliance, saying you can't also want to benefit without wanting to own, ask for support in critical areas, but don't also really rely on politicians' money. And that is something also we did see the Colonel also questioning the SACCO members on, and that shouldn't be the case for only the SACCO members, maybe elsewhere, because today we are seeing many SACCOs already going through a lot, and really to also have them first of all empowered is the way to go, because we need to make sure these SACCOs also already understand how they need to run and how they need to operate. That will be quite well, because many of the times we have seen SACCOs also really failing to remit back the monies they have borrowed, and this is where the SACCO members sometimes really borrow money and fail to return back. How do we make sure we regain and we maybe get this money back from these SACCO members who have gotten the monies and fail to pay back? Because sometimes others not also really willingly refuse to pay the money, but they fail to refund it back. And that is why we are saying empowerment, social empowerment actually is the way to go. We need to make sure these people who are getting the monies get the monies for the right use and through the right channels. That would also be quite well. And by saving and investing in their circles, members can develop also themselves and secure their future. This is something also we did see Colonel Onata also stressing upon. And he also went on to encourage members to approach well-to-do individuals for support instead of also rushing out to politicians in there, because today we have seen people also saving monies through SACCOs. Others have actually gotten money for starting up businesses through SACCOs, and they are doing well, and most of the women. And that is how the SACCOs are playing a crucial role, because on Sundays I'm somebody who loves also moving around the areas. You can be able to tell, and this is also where you can be able to see many women coming together. And today we also see the housewives not complaining very much, because the SACCOs are really playing a great role. And that's why we are saying the SACCOs are doing a great service and a great deal to those women who are maybe in the areas for those who are working, because you see all walks of life brought together, and not forgetting also only those who are working and those who are not employed. For instance, the housewife also really maybe who are employed by their husbands, so really raising the money to also really be part of the SACCOs in there. But really one thing I also want to caution women against is the issues of rampant commissions, because sometimes we are seeing the women also really doing a lot of budgets to the extent that the commission also really they do on this money is really quite a lot. And that's why we're saying, much as you need to be part of the circles, definitely you also need to mind of maybe how much money you are going to be getting from the money that has been given for food. And that is one thing also I want to talk about, because it is not a lie, it is the truth. I've seen it happening, because many of the times also the women who go to food, because men do not go to the market. It is the women who go to the market to buy the food, and that is how sometimes they get themselves paid, and that's only how they also really save this money for their weekly circles. But really, for them also to have more circles is really bad, because sometimes we have also seen women engaging in very many circles, and where also the money they get is actually not equivalent to also how they need to be part of these circles. That is really how at the end of the day problems come in, because men give money to buy food. At the end of the day, the money is actually spent on what we call the circles, and that's what the women also really call in a rule, they call it their socials. And that is why we are saying their socials also need to be regulated in there by the husbands. And that is how at the end of the day, if at all women do not change, men are going to be the ones that going to market to buy food. And that would also mean the end of them, the end maybe for the women who have been also being part of their socials, and where they have been getting a necessary money maybe for their circles in there. And we did see Mr. Samuel Baker Bosa, the chairperson, emphasizing that the circles aim of collective development through also savings and investments in there. And that's something also I want to say is quite well, and really want to say that also need to be the case. And if at all that is the case, and then how do we make sure that the women who are actually also really part of the circle also really get also supported in there? And I really want to say that is quite well, and really it is actually the way to go, because circles are actually playing a great role, as I earlier on mentioned. I wouldn't want to repeat myself on that, but really I want to say circles have been playing a great role, and how do we make sure that circles continue running is the way to go. And that is why maybe with the merging of PDM and the parish development model, not forgetting Myoga and the rest of the government interventions on poverty eradication also really must be taken seriously. And today we have seen maybe these women groups who are under the circles only benefiting from government and from some politicians, and that's why we are saying the politicians I need to come out and support these people, and that would also really be quite well. And one of these people who are, and one group actually I wish to also really have be incorporated into the circles is actually the youth, and the youth also need to engage in also circles. And this is where issues of financial literacy comes in, because women get to share a lot of knowledge on what to do through sometimes only through the circles. And that's why we are saying today, as the youths, we need to come together and also really formulate our own circles. That would also be quite well. And today we have seen circles doing a tremendous job, and this is actually where we did see the exodus circles for the security agencies. This is in police, and we're also seeing there was Zalendo in UPDF, and that is where maybe the rest of the organizations also need to have their circles established, and that would also really help them in poverty eradication. And that is one thing also really I need your opinions on as we get move on with the show. But as the viewer, what do you think about the role of circles? Because I believe circles are playing a great role. In my own opinion, they are doing a great role, because we are seeing women actually doing a lot for themselves, and that is why we are seeing women can be able to start up their businesses without necessarily waiting to ask for the help from their husbands, but really just because of what the circles are doing to them. We have seen them also really empowering their lives, maybe socially. We have seen women who are actually paying school fees through the circles. We have seen women buying nice clothes for themselves, and that means also that there is a progress in terms of these circles. But really where the challenge is coming in is the issues of also the unnecessary commissions in there. I want to call them commissions because these associates also really sometimes also we see them also really very much pocketing the monies, which is really quite unfortunate, because at the end of the day people are going to be eating food that is not worthy the money given by the husbands in there. And this is just because the money that was meant for food has been diverted for another option, which is actually what we call the circles in there. Today I'm not meaning to attack the women, but what I'm saying is actually the truth, and that also calls for what we call change, where people need to change, because this is happening in our vicinities. In the rural settings, we have seen also women also camping on Sundays, mostly on Sundays and over the weekends. From Saturday to Sunday, we have seen also people coming with the books and with the metallic cases. But really my humble advice and my humble appeal is for them to make sure this money is kept at the right place, because at the time sometimes we have seen people disappearing with the money, and keeping this money in the bank is actually the way to go. And that does bring us to the end of the first hour. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV with me, Farish Majid. It's a great pleasure having you on board and the midst also this blessed morning in here, because for us to witness rains, definitely that is a sign of blessing, because we are received by the rains, and that also tells us that to start off your day with maybe the rains or drizzles, definitely that is a blessing. And for those who are maybe in our cultures, we understand that rain is a sign of blessing. Maybe to the farmers who are also receiving the rains, we need to speed up also with planting our crops. For those who are yet to engage in agriculture, we have seen the rains returning amidst also the threats of also witnessing a long dry spell in there. But really, we shall be able to do our best, and that is why we need to make sure that we plant the crops timely, and that does bring us to the end of the first hour, and we shall be able to bounce back shortly. My name is Farish Majid. I'll stay tuned to watching West Nile TV as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
For Miss Uganda 2024 is on. Get ready to be wowed by the girls' intelligence, charisma, and big dreams. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Find out starting 10th May every Friday to Sunday at 8 p.m. on Makula Chika, exclusively on Star Times. The show is sponsored by LMZ, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grace Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are back with the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV, and our final destination remains 9 o'clock, and you are most welcome for our second hour of the show. And we are going to be doing this with you up the hour of 9 o'clock, and after 9 o'clock, that's when the news bulletin in laboratory will be coming through. But before we get to give you maybe the news bulletin, we still have lots more issues prepared for you in here and there. And remember, we are also going to be talking about sports. And on a sad note, sorry, we did see Uganda also losing out to Algeria yesterday, and Midis taking the lead. But things didn't go our way. And what exactly happened? And why do we continue to lose? Maybe in the order of sports in there, and that is something also I will be able to also talk to you very much later on, as Owen Ezaga together with Linda Susie. I will be back with a whistle time from the hour of 2 to 3 p.m. That is to keep you informed. And for those who love dancing, later on also that's from 5 to 7. The Chukuchuku Live also will be coming through with with Hassan the Big Brother, DJ Mosh, and not forgetting MC Sarge, as well as that is Liz Honey in there, and that is where you need to also really be part of the discussion. But remember, in here, so many programs already will be coming through, not forgetting also already so many others that will be coming through, and I wouldn't also really want to go into them maybe detail by detail, but I want to also really maybe keep informed about those few. But really many things are continue to happen, and that is also really where we now come back into our discussion for the second hour. Remember, in the first hour we talked about a number of issues happening that is across also really the borders. We did also talk about the Kiswahili strike, the teachers also demanding also really for inclusion in there, and not forgetting circles being cautioned against also really relying on support also really from politicians, and that is something actually where we did talk about as we go to summarize the second hour with. And now to begin our second hour with, that is also really in the story, we did see Museveni paying tribute to war comrade, that is Samuel Ekaba's family in there, and we did see President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni paid his full respects to the family of Samuel Ekaba, a war comrade who also passed away 7 months ago, and Ekaba, who was the president during the liberation also the war and aided his, that is escape from Obote's army, was buried, that is in Katapala village, that in Tororo district in November 2023, in an condolence message delivered by Tororo South County MP Frederick Angura. We did see the president also praising that's Ekaba as a friend and a savior who saved his life and contributed to Uganda's stability and peace in there. And the president offered a condolence of shillings 10 million that is about the family and pledges continuous support also in there. And that is something also we did see happening on the past morning. But really, how also really maybe these people also maybe do their things, because definitely we do understand that also when we talk about the history, when we talk about also the support in there, so many issues also many people have been addressed as maybe part or maybe as part of this struggles. But really, how many are they? These are really that we need to understand the family through also their here, that is Jane Amount. I thanked also really the president for recognizing their contribution and appealed for their special attention and the memorial also investment in the area to honor their late father, and that is something also we are yet following up on. And exactly, if at all maybe the government also will listen to their prayer, that is also something we shall be able to also come back and keep you informed still about on. And let's leave that aside, let's move on, where a witch doctor who was found with also human skulls has been also jailed for 7 years in there, and the High Court in Kampala has sentenced that is John Magombe, a witch doctor, that is to 7 years in prison for also possessing human body parts, including also the 3 human skulls in the Magombe pleaded guilty also to the charges, admitting that he had bought the scars from a fellow witch doctor in there. And High Court judges also Margaret Matonyi are convicted and also sentenced Magombe, stating that the law prohibits human sacrifice and aims solely to prevent the use of human body parts in traditional also medicine as part or any other part of practice in there. And that is something also we are yet following up on, and that's something we did get this early morning. And while sentencing Magombe, the judge encouraged also him to change his ways and embrace Christianity, noting that also really that is something also really the Bible, and use the Bible without also really human body parts in there. And the judge also asked the public to be vigilant and also report any witch doctor who can be able to manipulate and scare them with human body parts in there. And Magombe was arrested on Friday, on February 3rd of 2023 at Kibira B village in Chazinga, Masanja, with human body parts including 3 skulls and a bot of suspected human or animal body in a shrine in there. That's something also we are talking about on. But really, how do we make sure that people who can take advantage of the others, because sometimes also we get to understand that these also people who call themselves as traditional healers, first of all, witch doctors, are actually quacks, and many people continue to lose monies worth millions and millions to these people in there. How do we make sure also maybe these also really crimes they commit also do not go on, because that is something at the end of the day we want to also really have an answers to, because once we don't have answers to these issues, then definitely this also vice continues to go on in and on. And really that is one thing also really I would also wish not to talk about, because many times we have seen people also really getting in possession of other human beings also body parts, because for you to keep a skull, then definitely that is something also really very, very bad in there, because many times people have had negative issues about thoughts. And for those for us as we are growing up, for those who are constructing maybe these storage buildings called the gorofas in there, most of the times we actually thought that they also been constructed using human heads in there, because in the corners people had this stereotype that skulls are put actually on the corners to also make this house, maybe these buildings grow in there without falling in there. But that is actually not the truth, and that is maybe the negative perception these witch doctors have actually painted in the minds of these people. And that is one thing also really where we need to also have these witch doctors who keep in possession of human skulls, maybe human other body parts, in possession also really responsible in there. Now that also really makes us a leader topic in aside. If at all you have anything that you want to put forward, or maybe what punishment needs to be given to these people, feel free to keep them coming through, keep it dropped, and we shall be able to slowly go through it later on. Health workers urge government to scale up malaria fight is another story that we are seeing on the past morning as we get to run out of time. Uganda's health sector holders are calling upon government of Uganda to intensify the fight against malaria. The country is also still having malaria as leading killer disease. And speaking also during the presentation of the health financing landscape report at the parliamentary committee, that is to also the parliamentary committee on health on Friday, officials from Ministry of Health, also led by that is Sarah Biachika, the commissioner that's for planning and policy, said the government also Uganda is losing a lot in terms of also that is health in there, and he highlighted the financial year that's 2020, that's from 2019 to 2020, HIV and other STDs took the largest share of the health budget, but also before last year also malaria has been consuming the biggest budget in there, and that means also there was transition from HIV being the leading disease actually now to malaria, and that calls already for maybe scale up in terms of also fight against malaria in that. According to World Health Organization, global funding for malaria also control is inadequate, with only half of the needed budget available, that's in 2022, and Uganda's malaria case and deaths have surged with an estimated that is of 12.7 million cases, over the 17,556 deaths annually also being reported in there, and that is something so we are following up on this on the past morning. And Dr. Biachika asked the government to increase its commitment in promoting what we call right to health for all Ugandans, and that's something also we did see happening in there, as well as we did see Dr. Jimmy Opigo, head of malaria control program, noted that government has increased interventions, including a nationwide distribution of insecticide-treated nets, and also that's what we did see also the spraying also exercise ongoing in there. And I believe all this is actually to make sure that malaria cases also drop in there. And civil society organizations like SEAD are urging also the Parliament to expedite the National Health Insurance Scheme bill, that is also to expand health insurance and coverage as well as social health protection in there. And I really want to say this is something also we are following up on, and civil society also, remember, civil society organizations play a great role in actually supporting government work, and that is why we are saying also the strides need not only to be left in terms of this civil society organization, but really everybody must make sure that they are actually part of the fight against malaria in there, and that will be quite well for us to solidly identify what exactly we need to do, because if at all we are not doing that, then definitely the fight against malaria will be able to remain a myth. It will be a song that we shall be able to continue to sing, and maybe without getting the necessary answer, because if you look at the admissions, that's in most hospitals, and then the highest number of visits, that is to the OPDs, you will be able to realize that also the most of them are actually malaria related. And what does that tell? It means that malaria is still amidst us, and we must also make sure that we first of all must make sure that we fight malaria by ourselves, because for me to fight malaria I do not need a doctor, because the information they have given us is enough. First of all, sleep under treated mosquito net, clear bushes around you, and then definitely avoid staying in places which also expose you to the mosquitoes is actually the way to go. As far as I know, I need to fight malaria, and this is exactly what I do, because I do not want to also be affected because of malaria, because if I may be going to be affected by malaria, the money I have is actually going to be going into treatment, which wouldn't also be quite well, because if at all you do not abide by sleeping under treated mosquito net, which the government of Uganda actually gave you free of charge, then that is quite unfortunate. And remember, many people actually had their houses already sprayed. That means already despite their houses being sprayed, that does not mean that malaria is out. We must also still abide by the other also calls. First of all, sleeping under treated mosquito net, and then secondly also really avoiding to also really stay in places which are also really bushy, where also really you get exposed to malaria, and that would also really at the end of the day help you protect yourself from malaria, because malaria remains a great concern, a great challenge. claiming many lives actually across the world in today. And that's why we are saying the issues of and the fight against malaria must start with you. It must also start with me and you. We all have to play a role in terms of solely kicking malaria out in there before government comes in. That is to scale up in the fight against malaria. And that does bring us to the end of that discussion. And now let's look at education, where over 52,000 nurses and midwives are set to sit for exams. And that's something that we are seeing on the past morning. I do not know, maybe if you have a sister who is out there, maybe also planning to sit for the exams, and then definitely you need to check on them within this period, because they are going to be starting their exams. And now the Uganda Nurses and Midwives Board, abbreviated as the UNMEB, on Monday commenced examinations for over 52,000 candidates across the country in there. And the exams will be able to span for 2 weeks, which are being also administered at least in the 123 examination centers across the country in that. According to UNMEB Executive Secretary, that is Ms. Helena Mukakirisa Katarambi, a total of that's 52,922 candidates are sitting for the 2024 exams, including that's 44,077 certificate education students, as well as 8,162 diploma students in there who are going to be sitting for these exams. And in Arua, we have quite a number of nursing schools and midwife schools solely that also tells us as to where maybe they're going to be sitting for the exams. And examination materials were dispatched to all the centers on June 4th and 5th, and a team of that is of 4,401 examination stakeholders, including examiners, invigilators, and center supervisors and center coordinators, have been deployed to supervise and coordinate all the exams in there. And I really want to say, we want to wish those the very best, because we need more nurses, we need more doctors, we need more midwives, also to help also in supporting the health sector in there. And all candidates, we are briefed, that's on June 8th, and where they were reminded of their roles as they are going to be sitting for these exams in there. And that is where they also need to be warned on the issues of also the examination malpractice, and that would also lead them to also having their exams cancelled. So that's already they also are thrown out. And Ms. Mukakarisa emphasized that extra security measures have been put in place to prevent issues of malpractice and leakage, with the Uganda National Police and UPDF deployed to ensure law and order and enhance security of the examinations, particularly in the areas of Karamoja sub-region in there. And that's something also we are following up on. Remember, these schools are stretched across the country, and that also tells us why we need to make sure this exercise is actually a success, because we need to understand that also these exams also are going to be going on where 1,120 motorcycles were registered during the grace period, and that's solely where we are talking about, because we need to make sure also those motorcycles that are going to be using, or maybe for this transporting these exams, actually efficient. And also maybe these examiners who are going to be sitting for this, maybe checking for these exams, must also make sure they move smoothly, because really with UNEP that time, we were able to see some of the local governments also really struggling to also have the access to these papers. And this is only where we are seeing the same returning in the same period with the return of the raise. And I must say, for particularly in Madiokolo, we did see the vehicles getting stuck, and that is something also which we are praying for. We want also to see these exams moving on as planned, and that's something also at the end of the day will be quite well. And now let's leave that aside. Let's now talk about also the other issues that also we need to talk about, because definitely as the grace period for registering also motorcycles for URA is nearing end, many people have actually been called upon to embrace the exercise, and that's something also we are talking about, because during this period, at least a total of 1,120 motorcycles were registered during the grace period, and that's something we are seeing on the past morning, generating that is about 780 million, where many owners are still finding registration fees expensive. But really, how do you make sure the rift between URA and also maybe the taxpayers is addressed? And that is something also we shall be able to come back and still talk more about that in the coming days. But really, as we move on with the show, because we are just remaining with about very few minutes, where we did see also the DRC deporting 2 Ugandans over bank raid is another story that we are seeing on the past morning. But really, what does that tell, and what does that mean of our security is something also I need your opinions on, where we did see our neighbors, Democratic Republic of Congo, deporting 2 Ugandans over bank raid in the leaders in Mohangi district, and that's Mahangi district in Turi province, that is the Democratic Republic of Congo, have deported 2 Ugandans who were arrested also on allegations of attempted bank robbery in there, and they were identified as Mr. Daniel Okulu, a 27-year-old resident of Icheme sub-county in Angom village in Oyam district, and Mr. Emmanuel Odong, a 25-year-old also that of Bobby sub-county in Omoro district, were arrested, that's on April 17th, that's of 2024, and spent a month, that is in DRS detention, before they were handed over to Ugandan security forces at the weekend in there. But that's something also we must say is quite unfortunate, because if at all you who start moving from Uganda, leaving Uganda to go and work, and then you are engaged in theft. Definitely, there's so many Ugandans who are in DRC also really will be the ones to feel the repercussions and feel the pinch of your actions, and that's why we're saying people must avoid the issues of theft. They must also really avoid the issues of taking the laws into their hands, and that is why we are saying also really, just like these two individuals, which also really maybe we arrested after spending some period of time in DRC, and then when they come to Uganda, I also want to say that the government of Uganda must also really subject them to another form of punishment. That is also really issue as a warning to the rest who would also wish to go to DRC or maybe other parts of the neighboring countries to also really do the same, and that would also be quite unfair in there. And according to DRC, the suspects were deported because they had other cases in Uganda, which I really want to say they also must come back and answer in there. And the leaders in DRC informed about also the two suspects who were being arrested while attempting to rob a bank in Mahagi town. Congolese authorities liaised with others to also have this deported back because they had other cases in Uganda. This is actually why Congolese leaders accepted their deportation and eventual trials in Uganda. And this is actual information we did receive in the Mr. Back. Noted that while he was serving as leader, RDC Okulu was one of the time, and this is where we're not talking about Robert Adak, who is actually one of those RDCs within West Nile now, also talking about Indian Okulu, was one time shot in the shoulder at also the scene of crime where they had gone to rob with his friends in Lira City, but also later disappeared in that. However, the Nebi District also police commander, Miss Kayondo, also said many suspected Ugandans criminals have found DRC a safe haven after committing crimes in Uganda, and that is where also now to have them return back is actually the way to go, because recently where we did see the city authorities also, the community members also embarking on cleaning up the city. Many of the criminals actually found their ways into DRC because others had committed crimes in South Sudan and they wouldn't go back to South Sudan. They actually found their way into DRC, and this is actually where they are likely to also going to commit the same crimes in there. But really, how do you make sure that these people also do not commit the crimes anymore is actually something also we are talking about. And in 2014, the district and DRC Congo leaders signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at eliminating any form of insecurity and violence that would destabilize peace in them. Part of the agreement said that if any stolen car from either country is found in DRC, it will be returned to Uganda. If any criminal also was hiding in either country, they will be deported and also already tried in the court of their respective country. And that is where maybe this is actually emerging on. And that is one thing also I want to say is quite well, because many times also we have seen people escaping from here to another, and that is really quite unfortunate. And that is one thing also I need to talk about, because if you don't talk about it, and then definitely we are going to be seeing also many people also escaping from DRC to Uganda, because we have also seen some of the Congolese also living in Uganda. We do not know, maybe some of them had actually escaped, and also we are going to be seeing some Ugandans escaping into DRC, which wouldn't also be quite well, because at the end of the day, just because of maybe crime committed by one person, definitely many people are going to be saying it is the Ugandans who are criminals, and that wouldn't also be quite well, because we have a saying in Lubara, one frog spoils the water, but all the people can't be able to be taken, and that's why we are saying the frogs. And that is one thing also which is quite unfortunate, and that calls also for maybe individual also responsibility. And that is why as communities, maybe as Ugandans who live in DRC, we must make sure that also such people are also brought to book, and we also hand them over to security. Because if you are told you are seeing somebody escaping from here and you know about the person's record, definitely feel free to inform the security agencies that side, so that they can be, maybe they can get arrested and also be added over to Uganda in there. And that is where we need to put that discussion aside. If at all you have anything you feel you need to put forward in relation to that, feel free to drop the comment on our comment section. For those of you watching us via Facebook, keep the comments coming through, and those who are watching us via YouTube as well, as keep the comments coming through in there, and we shall be able to go through them in the later hours of the show. And we did see also in the papers this morning, aircraft carrying Malawi Vice President missing. That's according to information from the President, which is really quite unfortunate, and that's something also we are receiving on the past of yesterday. And really this is something also we need to talk about, as an aircraft also carrying Malawi's Vice President, that's Saulos Klaus Chilima, and 9 others also is said to be missing, and that's according to also the information we received from the President in there. And this was yesterday, as all efforts also by aviation authorities to make contact with the aviation also the aircraft since also it went off that the radar have failed also thus far. And that's also where we did see Malawi's office of the President and cabinet said in a statement, and now could it be stuck somewhere? That's something also we don't know, because we also need to understand what exactly happened in Chilima. 51 was aboard also the Malawi Defense Defense Force aircraft that left the capital, that's Luluengwe. That's at 9:17 a.m. That is 17:17 GMT. It said that also already adding that the search and rescue operations were ongoing to also already trace where this aircraft is. And at Muzu International Airport, that's at 10 a.m. according to information also already from issued by also the president, also the officials in there. And other passengers also already aboard the flight include Mr. Chilima's wife, Mr. Mary, and a number of officials from the vice president, that's United Transformation Movement, a party according to also the BBC in there. And after being told of the incident by Defense Forces Commander, Malawian President also already Lazarus Chikwera cancelled his scheduled flight, that is to Bahamas in there. The aircraft had been also scheduled to land at Muzuzu International Airport, that is at 10:02 a.m. according to the statement in there. Other passengers also already have been identified, and that is something also already we are going to fulfill. And Mr. Chilima was on his way to represent the government at the burial of former cabinet minister Ralph Kasambra, who died also 3 days ago. And Mr. Chilima, age 51, had been the vice president of the Southern Africa, that is country, since 2014 in there. And he is married, that's with 2 children, and that is something also we did see happening in there. And that is also something where I need your opinions on. Feel free to keep them coming through. And that is where also on a sad note, we continue to also really pray for the best. If at all, maybe this aircraft is maybe stuck somewhere, we also need to pray for them, maybe for their lives to still be alive. And that's something also we are following up on, because we do not know what exactly happened, and yet efforts are still underway to also trace for this aeroplane in there. And that is something also really we are following up on. But really we still continue to hope for the best, because definitely information about maybe their death has not been also been told, but we shall be able to come back if at all maybe they identified alive on where they could be maybe staying in. We shall be able to also really come back and still inform you in relation to that. But really on a sad note, we are still already praying for the very best with the people of Malawi in there, because definitely Malawi is actually one of these countries, and definitely as a Pan-Africanist, what happens to your neighbor is also really very, very much also happening to you in there. And let's leave that aside. Now let's talk about politics locally in here. And remember that Kizza Besigye was recently in also really areas of Mbale, but the reception also didn't go on well. And people are now asking, is it the end for Besigye after lukewarm reception in Mbale? That is something also really we are seeing on the past morning as we get to move on to the final minutes of the first half of the second hour in here. Dr. Kizza Besigye, a towering figure in Uganda's politics, recently experienced a starkly different reception during his visit, that is to Mbale, also signaling potential challenges to his political career. And the departure from his unusual enthusiastic welcomes the region. He has ignited discussions about the evolving political landscape in Uganda for nearly 3 decades. Dr. Kizza Besigye had been a formidable presence also already in Uganda's politics, commanding a significant attention across various regions. However, his recent also already reception in Mbale, described as minimal and lacking the favor witnessed also already in previous years, underscores a notable shift in public sentiment. And also similar instances were reported in Tesho. We did see also similar reception being given to him also in Tesho, Langob, Soga, and Sebei sub-region. And we are looking forward to have him in Western sub-region. Are we going to be having the same? Definitely, I do not know, but we are going to be following up on. And since 2001, Dr. Kizza Besigye has been accompanied by thunders welcomed by crowds in Mbale, with mammoth gatherings highlighting the popularity and influence in the region. But really, this is something we didn't see happening in his recent visit to the area in that. Yet this time round, his reception was markedly also subdued, with only modest number of supporters turning out to greet him in there. And this the unexpected turn of events has, however, prompted speculation about the factors contributing also to the national shift, and that is something also really we are yet following up on. But really, what does that mean? Definitely, that is something also really we are yet following up on, because the numbers that received that is kind of Kizza Besigye in his recent visit to Mbale was actually alarming. And what does that mean? Are we also really maybe seeing also really people maybe crossing over the ruling government? Because recently in our primary school playgrounds, where we were in for the Thanksgiving, that ceremony of Ham, at least one of the political group leaders, also the coordinators from Yume district, was able to cross over to the ruling government. Also, could that be also a signal that most of these people who actually maybe were behind the coordinating these events had maybe crossed over to the other political groups? Definitely, I don't know, but that could also be a reason, maybe also for them to understand, because many people have actually crossed over to these political groups, saying that they are not also really maybe realizing their dreams, because many of the times after somebody being able to also give you the support and we are not also realizing what they need to achieve, they also give up. And that's also the reason as to why maybe are we getting to have this, maybe what they're saying, if at all you fail to win your enemies, join them. Could that be the dream? Definitely, I do not know, but we are going to follow up this till 2026, and that would also tell us exactly what exactly is happening in there, and accompanied by notable figures like National Council Chairman, that's why Swabirigwa, Asalam Musumba and Haro Kaija basically acknowledged the crisis between also, but attributed the low turnout to fears over or potential repercussions related to the government also the funded parish development model in there. And that's something also we need to talk about, because many of the times today many posts do not want to come out and exercise what exactly is happening. And that's also given the fact also could it be that also the disunity among the political group is also playing its role, because we are seeing also the FDC today being disintegrated in two blocks. That's the Nanzana Kumbi and Katonga blocks, the Katonga facts. What does this mean? And that was something also where I think it could also be playing a great role in terms of also disintegrating the party supporters furthermore. And I really want to say, in my own opinion, that could also be playing its role, and that is why the issues of unity must be fostered, because if at all you are going to be also disintegrating, at the end of the day we are going to be pinpointing, we are going to be accusing each other that this actually ate the money from the other, this is not also genuine, this is actually planted by the other. At the end of the day, I believe this is something that is costing the opposition groups, and that is also really where I need your opinion on. What does that tell? Definitely is actually something I will need your opinion on. As I come back shortly, I will be able to go through that later on if at all you have any comment that you want to make forward in relation to that. But for now, let's have this short commercial break as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
For Miss Uganda 2024 is on. Get ready to be wowed by the girls' intelligence, charisma, and big dreams. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Find out starting 10th May every Friday to Sunday at 8 p.m. on Makulachika, exclusively on Star Times. The show is sponsored by LMZ, Comfort, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grace Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break. Today is Tuesday. It's the Tuesday edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show, and today happens to be the 11th of the month of June. In case you are just joining us right now, you most welcome aboard from wherever you chose to watch us from, as we are back to keep you informed and updated of what is happening across the globe. And that is why we do not also really exclude any topics, and that is one reason actually why you as the viewer is very, very much important to us, and that is why at the end of the day, to enlighten the region, we need you. You're a stakeholder, and that is one thing also really we thank you very, very much for. In case you are just joining us this very morning, you are very much welcome. And in Arua City, I must inform you that where our headquarters is, we did witness some bit of rains, and I don't know how it is in other parts of the the region. Definitely, I hope you also really had this rains, because this is a sign of blessing, and that is also really where to have these rains in the morning. It's a sign of blessings. Maybe at the end of the day, definitely your day is going to be ending on a good note in there. And really, I want to say, as we bounce back, if at all maybe you kept watching us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning, you're most welcome back. And we are now to move on with you up to the hour of 9 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock, definitely that's when the news bulletin in Lubarati with Mukulia Lawrence, the gentleman, will be coming through. And later on, other programs will be able to follow. But really, I want to say you are most welcome in a special way once again, as we get to also really understand what is happening in the evening of the show. So many issues going to unfold, and that is one thing also really earlier on we are talking about Best J being welcomed also really amidst a few turnout. And definitely, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that it is the end for Best J, given the fact that we have seen FDC being integrated into further more, because at least today we are having two FDCs, and that's also where we are seeing the Katonga faction and also the Nazanankumi block. And that is something also really, maybe it could be playing its own part, because I don't know. And if you really see also where we did see Muriat also really coming from the eastern, could that also really very, very much play its role? Definitely, I do not know, but really we are now seeing Muriat also chase the thumbs over defeating FDC Katonga faction. It's something also we are seeing on the past morning, where the Forum for Democratic Change Party president, that's Patrick Amuriat Oboy, has boasted about also thwarting attacks by their that's detractors based, that is at Katonga Road in there, and that's in Kampala. And he made these remarks also while launching the party's 2026 National Voter Mobilization Program on Monday, which was yesterday, which was June 10th, at their headquarters Nazanakumbi on Entebbe Road in there. And the launch was attended by FDC top officials, including that's members of the National Executive Committee, MPs, and all their elected party local government leaders who actually also attended this event in the Namuret. Argued that despite all these disturbances, they are all united by also really to resolve, also to defend and protect their party constitution, and also spared no efforts to thwart also the attacks by their detractors in there. And that is something also we did see happening in there, where if I can be maybe able to also quote him, he said the internal bickering in the party was also decisively resolved and permanently put that to rest by the election of new office bearers at the 7th National Delegates Conference on October 6th of 2023. This underlined also the fact that nobody, no matter their political size, will be able to solely allow to meddle with our political also constitution to destabilize the party is also really selfish political and financial, as well as other gain in there. That's something we did see him also really talking about on, as he went on to congratulate all those who successfully participated in the election, which he claimed also really was viciously fought by the negative internal forces in there. And that is something also really we did see happening in there. And the Katonga faction led by Kampala Lord Mayor, that's Eras Gwago, as an interim president, is currently looking forward, that's for a viable vehicle to run successfully as campaigns that in the 2026 general election. And the other also members include that's FDC founding member, that is Kano Kiza Besije, that's the third Kano Kiza Besije, and Kira Municipality Member Parliament, that's Ibrahim Semujunganda, the former spokesperson also in there, who have actually moved, that is from where they are to the other group in there. But that is something also really we are following up. And then the how will this end? Definitely I do not know, but really I can be able to maybe keep informed when the right time comes, because for us to have more of these opposition groups, definitely that means a lot. And that also tells us how maybe this is actually something going to move on, because if you really see the opposition groups, definitely we did see the NRM first of all, so really launching the NRM exercise, which went on successfully. We did see NUP also conducting it recently, and now FDC actually also really recently launched it. But maybe how many members are they going to be also really as maybe secure in the forthcoming also really exercise in there? But that's something also really we are following up on, and we shall be able to keep you informed at the right time, also when the right time comes. And now to summarize the discussions, let's now look at what is happening elsewhere, where police probe death of student over study combination row is already another story that we are seeing on the past morning. But really, my question is that should you be forced on what to do? That's also already take as a combination, because many of times we have seen this actually also negatively also affecting the students, and this is also already at the A level, this is at the advanced levels, where students have to pick at least 3 subjects. But many of the times, sometimes the students study what is against their wishes, and this is sometimes already being determined by the parents. Sometimes where a parent wants you to do this, and they will want you to do that, and that is something also which at the end of the day is against your wish. And sometimes we have seen schools where they cannot be able to give you this combination that you really want to do. At the end of the day, they force you into doing what you not maybe also supposed to do, and that is something also at the end of the day which has led to many learners failing at the end at the advanced level. That is also after something that has actually led to many learners not securing at least the 2 principal passes that is required for them to move to the universities. And at the end of the day, that actually affects also the kind of courses that they can be able to secure at the university. And that's one thing also already where many times we have also seen also many people complain about it, because the A level plays a crucial role in terms of what you're supposed to also take as maybe courses at the university. And that's something also already where we did see on a side note a learner actually committing suicide over some subject combination. And now we are seeing police also really investigating circumstances under which a student of that is also one Pewontake Secondary School in Kasanga Town Council, Wakiso District, allegedly committed suicide in there. And according to police investigation so far, the student aged 19-year-old was forced to switch, that's for mathematics, economics, mathematics and geography, abbreviated as MEG, as also to our preference, that's also to study biology, chemistry and mathematics, which also allegedly advised by the mother in there. And her family also, however, suspects foul play, that since her body was found outside the school premises, yet she was admitted to the boarding section, that wouldn't also be the case as to what they are thinking in the Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Police Spokesperson Luke Owesjire also in a statement issued yesterday said that the investigation indicated that the student also in the evening of 7th June, also the student allegedly escaped from the school through the main gate, and also really the school has about 1,500 students in the day section, and she actually escaped in there, and that's something also we did see happening. And the school has about 1,500 students also in the day section, and where she could have actually taken advantage of maybe escaping. And her body was however found on a tree that is also in Chianza in Walufumbe Zone 2. That's on June 8th, in that she was allegedly in her school uniform during the time of also this incident in there. That's something also we are saying is quite unfortunate, and really for us to witness maybe this person dying just like that, then this is quite unfortunate. And that is why issues of also what we call career development must also be first of all taken into serious consideration. But in most cases in our region, first of all in Western sub-region, the issue of career guidance is lacking. Most of the parents actually do not know what the learners are to study, and some of the schools, they leave this entirely in the hands of the schools. And that is why sometimes in schools where the career masters and the career officers are not also really very much strong, then and then we see the learners struggling to also really have the combination, so they take also to study in there. And at the end of the day, we see somebody studying a combination which is really unmatched. And really this is something also which I must say must be addressed if at all we are to improve on the education sector of this country, because if at all that is not the case, and then definitely that is something also which at the end of the day contributes to such instances, which is quite sad. And that definitely tells us why also we need to understand. And the information, and if was to also speak to the mother in relation to this incident is quite also went futile. And this is by press time yesterday. And in an interview also, however, the student's father, that Peter Kisitu, claimed that his daughter's body was had wounds on the back, and the school should be held responsible, because at all maybe this student could have also maybe they could have also committed maybe suicide, because this is not the very first time we are seeing also students dying from the boarding section. Recently I was watching a documentary that happened in Kenya, where one of the daughters already was actually maybe said to be killed by the school, but definitely the school also already came out to say that this girl actually died also already after falling from the bed. And this is the information we did see from there, but really that did not go on with the parents, and up to now the parents actually pursuing justice. At the end of the day, what exactly happened is something also we need to make sure that the information is clear, and we need to understand what exactly transpired. If at all this girl was killed, we need to also understand if at all she committed suicide, and how did she get the wounds as alleged by the parents. This is something also really we are following up on, because we need to make sure that this person, this family gets justice for their daughter also in there, if at all definitely something went on wrong in there. And some recommendations offered at advanced level determine a student's career path, where BCA BCM would actually enable one to study so many courses, which among others include medicine, among others in there, because many times we have seen so this career also people talking about BCM doing that, and this is something also, and now given the fact that the government of Uganda they put much emphasis on sciences, and that is why also these courses must be supported. But really, how do you force somebody maybe to switch off from their preference to a course that they do not want? That is something also we need to understand. Miss Julius Muzora to Hairwe, the Commissioner for Government Education and Secondary, said sub-combinations should be based on a learner's ability, interest, and also prospects. That is also really where the parents also need to come in and also support the learners in there, and that is something also really at the end of the day would be very, very much good in there if at all that is something also that is not done. Because if at all the learner who is yet in O level is also going to clock A level, and given the fact that also these learners who are going to be moving to A level next year are actually part of the new curriculum, how are they going to be assessed? Because definitely these people who are currently in A level are part of the last, that's the last lot under the old curriculum in there. But really, how is government going to be incorporating that? And that is something also I do not know. We'll be able to come back and also keep informed in relation to that. But as we get move on with the show, we are seeing city businessman Mutasa Kafero suing car dealer over shillings 900 million Range Rover. This is already another story that we are seeing on the past morning, where the commercial division of the High Court in Kampala is set to deliver its ruling. That's on July 10th, in a case involving the purchase of the latest model of Range Rover worth 900 million, where court documents show that property businessman, that's already Mutasa Kafero, sued the car importer, that's Yasin Matov Seguya, for allegedly also already failing to refund him his shillings 300 million, following a botched car importation deal, where it is alleged that Mutasa and Mr. Seguya signed an agreement in which the letter will be also already a sell a 2023 model that's also already Range Rover worth 9 million, in which money was paid in installments, and subsequently also Mr. Mutasa proceeded to pay that shillings 300 million as the initial deposit, with the balance of about 600 million to be paid in the next also months also in there. And that is also really where we need to also ask the people who are going to be engaging in such deals, for those who are interested in buying cars, you must make sure that you buy the cars maybe from the right dealers, because dealers also really play a great role. If at all you are going to be buying these cars for maybe somebody you think as is a broker, definitely they are going to be taking advantage of you, and that is why at the end of the day, the car that they may be able to deliver to you may be the one that you actually wanted. And that is actually where we are saying, if at all you are going to be engaging in deals, these deals must make sure they are also really observing the right channels and the right procedures. And that does bring us to the end of the show, and I really want to thank you so much, whoever watched us right from the time it began until this hour of the morning. We are saying it's a great pleasure having you watching us. That is from the hour of 7 o'clock until this hour of the morning, where we are summarizing the discussions, and we are also, this is also to enable us pave way for the Areas and News team to come through and also let you know of what is happening in there. And today, I hope you had a wonderful time with me, Farish Majid, right from the time we began until this hour of the morning. We say from me to you, have yourselves a good day as we bounce back tomorrow for the same edition, from the same time, and also from the same television station and same channel in there. I'm out of here. Until tomorrow, goodbye.